Okay, we're ready. We're rolling. All right, welcome everybody to another episode of Face the Truth. Hope everyone had an awesome holiday and New Year's. I've been trying to. I feel really lucky that I've been super busy, but it's been nonstop. So there's been a little bit of a gap between podcasts, so I'm glad to finally be back and with an amazing artist. I've known David for a while now, like online. We met once. We hung out in New York once and went to a pub. It was fun. But huge fan of this guy's work. Years ago, he was a guest artist in one of my books. I think his paintings are just phenomenal. He's also an amazing teacher and just always pushing himself and really inspiring. So I'm super excited to talk to him. So everyone, please welcome Mr. David Kassan. Welcome, my friend.
Applause, like pipe in some fake applause.
Yeah, we can do that. So how you been, man? How was your New Year's?
It was good. Oh shoot, hold on. My alarm for heating up. Yeah, it was good. It was good. This has been a crazy fall. I got married on Thanksgiving. And thanks. And then I did a little mini honeymoon over the holidays around Christmas and Hanukkah and stuff. So Shane and I went to New York City for 5 days, which was kind of awesome. Pretty much like pub crawling and being a tourist in pretty much my own town in a way was kind of fun.
That's awesome.
It's been great. My son was out here in Albuquerque for a week and a half or so, and so that was fun. And it's been great. It's been pretty awesome.
That's cool, man. That's so you guys it's how long have you guys been together now? It's been a few years, right? Because it just seems like I thought you guys were married already, so I got confused because I've seen your post for years, so I'm like, oh man, that's right, they're getting married. But yeah, it's about time.
We started dating at the end of 2014, so I guess it's been about 5 years.
Yeah. That's a good one.
And we got engaged a year after we were together. We were traveling through Europe. I was teaching in Rome, and we decided to go up all through Italy for a couple weeks, and then ended up in Paris, and then we did a residency in Ireland. And so we were traveling through Europe for about 2 months, and asked her to marry me in the middle of the trip. Didn't have a ring or anything. Yeah, and she said yes, which was awesome. And we just been because we both have kids. It's like our second marriage. We're just kind of taking our time.
Yeah.
And we just did a destination wedding in Turks and Caicos. So small, family gathering and stuff. It was pretty beautiful. Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah, I saw the pics, man. Those things look really cool. Man, that's awesome too, man. I feel happy for you too. Just knowing that you found someone that you can relate to and you guys paint together and everything. That's the coolest thing ever, man.
Yeah, actually, this is her side.
Yeah. That's awesome. My wife's got her stuff back. My wife's a painter as well, so it's same with me. It's my second time around, and it makes it so much better when you're with someone who actually likes you and gets what you do, and you know what I mean. I love going to art museums, and we can talk about the same things, and it's pretty awesome, man. Yeah, that's cool, man. So, dude, so I wanted to talk to you about I've been following these paintings you've been doing of survival, Holocaust survivalist, and that one massive painting. I wanted to ask you just about that painting because that thing, first of all, you blew my mind recently when we were talking, and you were like, oh yeah, I see that painting, and I'm like, I see the show, I see the museum and everything, and I'm thinking, holy shit. Some billionaire commissioned David to do this masterpiece because you've been spending it seemed like a year or two or something. It seemed like forever that you were working on this painting. But just the scale of it, the amount of detail and time and everything and the passion you put into it. And you're like, oh no, that was all just on me. I was so blown away because I assumed that thing is in a museum forever. That's what it seemed like. That was my perspective. Would you mind sharing a little bit about that? Because that's just, I still am mind blown about that. It's crazy.
Yeah. Thanks. It's the painting was just a kind of like a personal project I wanted to do. So I started painting survivors about 5 years ago, and I do usually I only paint like one or two figures within a piece.
Yeah.
And I had this idea one night. You like those ideas you want to write down, like that you have at night before you fall asleep and stuff. I was like, how can I make this bigger, more complex? And I thought it'd be amazing to do a painting of maybe 5 survivors, something that would be, I don't know, like 100 inches by 96 inches, life size, like pretty big, heavy painting that has 5 testimonial stories in it, or a family of survivors that kind of came to America and on their own and had interesting stories. And then I got in touch with a woman on Facebook, Judy Kaufman, and she knew people at the Museum of Tolerance out in LA. And she said that she put me in touch with a woman that was like their survivor coordinator, because they have survivors that speak there every day. And so this woman's like a family member of them in a way, because she books where they go, when they're going to be here, or if they can talk that day, or if they can't talk. And so she knows the entire survivor community out in Los Angeles, which is incredible. And this woman, Samuels, who I talked to there, said that she could put together maybe survivors of Auschwitz. If I could find money to get out there to photograph them and videotape them, she would have the survivors if I got out there. And so I luckily got a grant from the Jerry Goldstein Foundation, which is Jerry's Art Rama, the art company where I buy a lot of supplies from. I'm friends with, I think, the granddaughter of Jerry. And she said that they actually have grants that they give out every now and then. And so I applied for a grant and gave me $5,000 actually. And I used that money literally to fly out to LA for 4 days with a videographer that I used to use. And we stayed in an Airbnb in LA and like really cheap. And I was able to meet with 16 survivors on that trip. And that was January of 2017. And so the whole project pretty much been through fundraising. And now I have a patron page that I have up that people have been donating to help me with the project and be able to support the painting. So it's not like I'm doing this all by myself. I have a community of people that are definitely helping out. But I got up to LA, and the woman, I contacted her, and she said that she could set up 12 survivors for me to paint and photograph. And so I actually, while I was out in LA, I hired a lighting guy so I could get the lighting correct with strobe lights and figure all that stuff out, the technical aspect. And she said I had 2 hours to photograph all these survivors and do interviews with them. And so it was pretty insane and pretty tight. But I was able to go out there, get the reference. We only 11 survivors showed up, unfortunately. One survivor had to go to the hospital. And that kind of spoke to me of the urgency of the project, because people are dying every day, unfortunately, with this community. And their stories are being, I'm not able to reach and get their stories amplified as much as I'd like. And so that's been one of the challenges. But so I took all that reference photos and everything that I got, and I started piecing the painting together actually digitally on my iPad, literally on the flight home. I was so excited about this project. And just, I guess the excitement's always just kind of carried me through. So it's been about 3 years, 3.5 years maybe it took to make the painting and exhibit it. And I did that while working on my other paintings at the same time. Yeah. And so it's basically been through fundraising and while I was out in LA on that trip, I met with the director of the Shoah Foundation and a museum curator for the Fisher Museum of Art, just luckily through a friend of mine who's a painter out in LA. He had the contacts and showed the curator my work, and she contacted the museum, and they saw my work, and they saw my work online also through Instagram, which was pretty big, to get people to see the paintings I was working on over the last 2 years. They'd have an exhibition for me 2 years later for the big painting. And so right now the painting's still out in LA. The exhibition ended in December, and it's going to another museum for, I think, 2 weeks for Holocaust Remembrance Day. It's going to the Museum of Tolerance, which is also in LA. So it's going from downtown LA to West LA.
Now, how big is this painting? Like, is it on metal? I think you said something about metal, or
it's 18 feet by 8 feet high. So the figures are all 11 survivors are life size in the painting. It's on acrylic mirror. So I paint on acrylic mirror because it's a surface that I love. It's very archival. It's very rigid. It gives a luminosity to the paint that I like. That it gives layers to the paint. So you're almost painting on glass tabletop, where your lights are sitting on that tabletop while your darks kind of sink in and have more depth. And so it's
that's interesting.
It's a really cool surface to paint on, and it takes a little longer to paint on it because you have to build up layers to break the transparency. Almost like you're painting on a window. There's not a lot of
interesting.
You're not hitting the surface of the painting right away. Whereas if I did a painting recently on dye bond, I haven't used dye bond, which is an aluminum composite panel that I used to paint on in a pretty long time. And I did a quick commission on dye bond, and it was so much easier to paint on because I didn't have to wait usually have to wait a couple days for the darks to set and dry so that you can paint into them and make it more subtle. And the only other thing I don't like about the plastic is it attracts dust because it's a static surface kind of. Yeah, and so always taking out dust. Yeah. So it's almost to sand the painting down every day before I start and take my palette knife to like take chunks out of the paint so that I can make an area a little bit smoother. So that's one thing it's a challenge, but I like the aspects of what it does to the painting enough that I can deal with that. And working on a big scale was pretty intense because I did
crazy.
It comes in 4x8 foot sheets, and so I just put 5 4x8 foot sheets pretty much together. So it's actually, here's an interesting thing. I didn't know this before I did this show. Do you know what they call a panel that's more than 3 panels? You have a diptych and you have a triptych.
Oh, okay.
So being 5 panels is called a polyptych, which I had no idea. So it's a polyptych painting that is it's 5 panels put together.
Oh wow. So no, it's that's what I was going to ask too. Like you gotta get a semi to get this thing places, but like you can take it apart. I'm sure that's what you do. So that's crazy.
Suburban XL.
Yeah.
So it's hard to get there. My neighbor, who's a good friend of ours, drove it out with me.
Yeah.
So
that's crazy, man. And what I meant earlier was like I'm used to, like I don't have I'm one of my New Year's one of the things I want to do this year, one of my goals, it's not just New Year's, it's just that it happens to be New Year's now, but I have to make more time for myself to be able to do painting that I want to do, because it's been too many years where I haven't been able to, and it's starting to like get to me, it's kind of a bummer, but at the same time, I feel like an idiot and a hypocrite for complaining because I make a living doing art. And so I feel super grateful for the work that I get. But at the same time, if you're just doing work for other people and you're not, you know what I mean? You're not really exploring or pushing yourself. It can be like, I think mentally stressful on you as an artist. And so I'm not used to doing work unless I'm getting paid for it, or unless it's like the last oil commissions I did, they were all, I wouldn't have painted these people unless I was being paid to do it. So when I saw, I see your work and I think your stuff's amazing, and I saw that painting and I'm like thinking, there's like no one from that perspective. I was like, there's no way I would. I mean, I love the idea, and I can see the passion and why you would want to paint these people, as to what I was talking about, like, painting some professional, like, professor, at a university, so this is definitely something more dire and more important about what you were painting. But at the same time, when I saw that painting and I saw the scale and I saw how long you're working on it, I just assumed, man, that's an amazing, what a commission, dude. I bet you, and he's like, dude, I'm set for a while, so it's even more impressive to me to know that this was just a passion to something that you really felt, wanted to do. And it's just awesome, man. It was really cool too, seeing the pictures of the museum, seeing the actual people with the painting, and you could see in their faces just how much it meant to them. That had to be amazing too, just to see that.
Yeah. I mean, I guess that's kind of like the reward for doing the painting, is seeing the people who I painted actually like really care for the painting and actually love it, see it. And that's been kind of, that's been the complete privilege that I've had to be able to paint these folks. It's funny that you say that. Like from a perspective, I guess I always just do the paintings. I never expect to be paid. I don't really ever. I've only done 1 or 2 commissions lately. One was just for a friend of mine, and she just commissioned me, and it was a quick painting. So I usually am never guaranteed money for anything I do. Does that make any sense? So
no, it does. It's just a weird. Yeah. It's just a different perspective, because like I come more from the illustration where like I mean when I do, like, I've done paintings for myself, and then it's every once in a while someone offers they want to buy a painting, and I'm like, oh, that's cool. But like, that's just not how. I mean, I've been doing illustrations for like almost 20 years now, which is kind of crazy to think. So for me, it's always like commission. I'm doing a bunch of paintings right now that, like, it's so. I love these current jobs I'm doing right now because it's so different from what I've done, and so I feel like, oh, I'm actually going to be like this one project I'm doing right now. Every single painting for this project, I have to do like a completely different style, and it's like I'm literally doing one that's like Rembrandt-ish, and then the other one is like Jack Davis for the same company. Yeah. So that's like, but that's what I'm more like. Normally it's just like commission, like. So that's crazy, man. So I think it's pretty awesome though, because you're able to just kind of do what you want, like just paint whatever you want.
Yeah.
Do you like, do you have like projects already like that you're working on for like future exhibitions, or you kind of set it up like that, or do you just kind of just whatever?
I mean, I'm still working on the projects. I'm still painting survivors right now because over the past 5 years, 3 years while I've been working on this painting, I've been partnering with the Shoah Foundation in LA, which is Spielberg started it in I think 25 years ago now. After Schindler's List, he took all the money he made from Schindler's List and set up this foundation that captures testimony in video and other means as painting. Now they actually have me as part of their archive, which is kind of awesome.
That's really awesome.
Consider the paintings as testimony as well, and so they've been helping me to connect with survivors. We did a trip in 2018. Last September of 2018, where we went to LA a couple times to meet with survivors, went up to Toronto, out to London, and Warsaw and Krakow, and met with survivors all along the way. Met with probably 16 survivors on that. I had another funding. A donor donated money for me and my videographer to travel. And so I probably met with 40 survivors now, or just over 40 survivors on the project. I probably only painted and drawn 24 of the 40. And so I have a lot more to go. And so that's kind of what I'm working on also at the same time as doing, like, I'm taking a little bit of a break right now for myself, just so I can, I'm painting a self-portrait right now. I just started a couple weeks ago. I did a drawing in Brooklyn, and so that's kind of cool. I haven't done a self-portrait in a really long time, and so that's kind of like a way of resetting myself after the exhibition, because I'm a little drained after the show, getting everything finished.
Seems
and
like
having some politics I had to go through for the museum, which was kind of stressful in some ways, and so all that's kind of done. I'm kind of resetting. I'm painting Shayna right now, so I'm painting her. And then I'm starting a survivor painting probably later today. Actually, I have some panels right here, which are the mirror panels, which I'm about to start another painting.
Oh, is that what they look like when you first get them?
Yeah, so they're actually clear like mirrors, but then I sand them and do an oil glaze so that I can actually draw onto the surface a little bit easier. Because it's so slick, you have to sand it so that paint can adhere. And so I'm going to start this painting of Dario Gabai, who is one of the last living witnesses to the gas chambers. And so it's a pretty important painting for me. And I met him out in LA, I think, about a year and a half ago. And he's just an incredible guy. He's a Greek Sephardic Jew who was a Zondo commando, which he was putting people into the gas chambers and taking their bodies out.
Wow.
And so he's suffering through dementia right now, so he doesn't quite remember everything. And he gave his testimony to the Shoah Foundation, and it's pretty powerful. And so, like, that's the type of stories and meaning that I want to have in work that I'm doing right now, as opposed to, and so I kind of have to psych myself up to do the painting also emotionally and to be present for it. So that's probably like the next project, I guess, that I'm working on.
Dude, that's like some heavy shit, man. That's crazy. My wife and I, a few years ago now, I was in Austria for a workshop thing that I was teaching, and then I got this weird random call from Wacom in Europe. They heard that I was there, and there was like something happening in Berlin. Would you like to come to Berlin and demo this something? There's like this new product. They didn't even tell me what it was, but they offered me money and stuff, and to fly us there. But I was like, oh, I guess we're here. That'd be cool. But I was there for almost 5 days, not knowing what we were doing. And I was like, I knew it was coming up, and they're like, we'll contact you. So we were literally staying. They put us in a hotel called Hotel California. That they'd maybe thought that we'd feel comfortable as Americans there or something. But for like 4 or 5 days, we got bicycles and just rode around Berlin and explored things, and it was really interesting. Just waiting for Wacom to contact me. You know, I have no idea what they want. So, but one of the days, I saw this flyer to go. You could go see Sachsenhausen, which was like one of the first concentration camps that I think Hitler actually made for. It was originally for German soldiers and government officials that were against him, which was really interesting because I had not really known that at that time. But we decided, it'd be kind of interesting to see that, just to see what it's like, and it was intense because we went there on a train, and it's the same train stop that all the Jews got off at, and then you have to walk. So we walk a couple miles to the thing, and so you're just the whole time, like we were there for 2.5 hours. And it was just massive how huge this thing was, and all the different I don't know what you call whatever those bunkhouse things were. There's tons of them, but for 2.5 hours we were there, never once said a word, couldn't even talk. It was just like the craziest, one of the creepiest, most disturbing places I've ever seen in my life. Like they had the gas chambers still. They had like these medical rooms that were just spotless and creepy, like underground. And they had like ovens and all this crazy stuff. And what was really disturbing was how many children, like there was every single thing you went through and you would read about was just so many children. It was unreal, man. But it's one of those things where, I remember us thinking, oh, this would be good to see, just to like, it's important to like understand what happened and to study and whatever. We're here, we should experience it. But it was one of those things where it's knowing what happened at this place and you're seeing it. It's like unreal. It's like it was just, even when we left and we got on the train going back to Berlin, we didn't even talk. We were just like, this is like the worst. I can't even believe this. And this is only one. This is only one out of how many there were. So it's so heavy and so powerful that you're doing what you're doing. I think as an artist too, like I think it's really important what you said. Just you got to psych yourself up to like even get in there to do it, because that's got to be like a bit of a burden, that weight, But I
don't think of it as a burden at all. I mean, I think that
I don't know if that's what I meant. Burden, like I meant what I meant by that is just like the weight of what these people experience, and just the way I look at it would be like just wanting to like make sure that they're honored the best way possible. That's what I mean by that.
Definitely. Yeah. I think that, I try not to think about that all that much. I think, I'm trying to honor like the lives that they've had after, as opposed to what they went through. And so a lot of times people are like, oh, you do work based on the Holocaust and everything, you must be really, down all the time and depressed all the time. And I really been inspired by the lives that they've had. People when they're some survivors 16 years old, The entire family's been murdered. They come to America, don't even speak English, and yet they own a company and become tailors to the presidents. You know what I mean? Like they built these lives over the last 75 years of what they had control over in their lives from when they were younger. And they built these amazing families and are striving and are very successful business people, you know, and family men and women. And it's incredible. Like that's the area that my paintings hopefully will span, as opposed to just what they went through in the early part of their lives, but the part that they've had control over and have become amazing, you know, and that's what I find inspiring.
Yeah,
it makes
that's true.
That I go through in life as being as struggling with this or whatever, being like really paltry and almost nothing. You know what I mean? So it's been a way of really trying to understand the full spectrum of humanity. As a person that paints humans, that's been incredible and has been a privilege to learn about these stories and to be able to hopefully amplify them through any means that we have as artists, through social media and everything. So that's, and I've had people I've done drawings of that don't like the drawings at all. You know what I mean?
Really?
That's crazy. So I've had some survivors that,
oh my gosh.
I did a drawing study for the painting, and then they were like, "Oh, please don't include me in the exhibition." I'm like, "Okay," because I mean, I'm painting them when they're late 80s and 90s, and they see themselves as 30 years old. Do you know what I mean? So we always kind of like think of ourselves how we were best in our lives. Can Shayna come say hi?
Oh yeah, that's interesting, man. That's really interesting.
While we talk. Oh, she has to work while we're. Is that okay?
I don't mind. Hey, how's it going?
Good. How are you?
Good. How you doing? She's gonna work. That's fine. It is what it is. But yeah, that's really cool. That's really cool, man. That's like that's a good way of putting it. Obviously it definitely gives you some perspective, like when like, oh man, this isn't working out, like, oh, the brushes I ordered didn't come on time, or whatever like thing that's going on in your life, and you're like, oh yeah, well, remember that dude's story? Yeah. But that's awesome, man. That's really cool. That's awesome. Jeez, man. Yeah, that's gotta be quite the intense thing though, like hearing all the stories too. I mean, it's amazing.
Yeah, the interviews, usually in the interviews, like, because I don't like really plan the interviews all that much. I read up a little bit about the survivor before I meet with them. But usually if things do get heavy, I usually go back to tell me about your family and some survivors are pretty incredible. Like they didn't become a bar mitzvah at all. And so they became a bar mitzvah with their grandson, which is on his share birthday with the case of Ed Mossberg, who I just painted. So today's actually his birthday, which is incredible. He's 94, and then his grandson is also it's his birthday, and so they both became a bar mitzvah together. Maybe like, I guess it'd probably be like 15, 20 years now, but it's kind of interesting, like the way the family histories have been, and that's like I said is pretty incredible.
Yeah, it is pretty awesome.
She's not gonna work in here. She's gonna go in the living room.
Oh, okay. That's fine. So that's awesome, man. That's really cool. Let's I want to ask you a little bit just about you personally. I was just curious too, just how you ended up getting into just art in general. Like, I mean, have you ever since you were a kid, I'm assuming you and I have a lot of similarities. I mean, I've always just drawn. It's just like there's nothing been but that. But how was it for you? Like you grew up in New York area?
I grew up in I'm a military brat, so my dad was in the Air Force. So I was born in Arkansas, Little Rock, Arkansas, on a military base there in Jacksonville. It's like north of Little Rock. And when I was a year and a half, we moved to Germany. And so I lived on Ramstein Air Force Base near Landstuhl, Germany, in West Germany. And then we moved back to the States 4 or 5 years later. And my dad retired at McGuire Air Force Base in South Jersey near Philadelphia, and that's pretty much where I went to middle school and high school. And so pretty much grew up in South Jersey near Philly. Oh, okay. I'd go to Philly to see concerts, and the art museum there was really influential. that's kind of where I found. Well, when I was little, we traveled all through Europe because we were in Germany, but we'd go to Italy and Greece, and we'd pile in we had a little green Renault car, and we would travel everywhere. And I just remember seeing like these flashbacks of seeing all these great paintings and sculptures all through Europe when I was a kid. And that kind of like stuck with me, I think, when I got older and I started looking at art history books. It was like having these connections with things that I'd already seen in real life, but when I was a kid, like dreams of. And it was kind of making these connections, and it made me more interested in art in general and painting. And then I would draw, obviously, while I was taking notes in school, and I should have been studying. You know what I mean? I think we all do that. And kind of got into life drawing when I was about 15 years old. I started taking classes in life drawing at the University of the Arts in Philadelphia. And so my parents would drop me off on the weekend, and I'd take the high-speed line into Philly and go to Broad and Pine and take classes there, and then get back. And sometimes I go to the museum afterwards and then come back home at night. And so it was usually like Philadelphia really nurtured me as a painter. And when I was in school, I really wanted to be an illustrator. And so I ended up going to school at Syracuse University for illustration. And the year that I graduated in 99, and the year I graduated, there's like all these amazing illustrators that graduated around the same time that are painters also now, which is kind of cool. SBA was Nicholas Uribe was there. Out in San Francisco was Kim Kogan. So like there was like, I knew about all these guys' artwork through the Society of Illustrators student shows that was on and stuff. So that was kind of cool. Like I think I met Nick in New York a long time ago when he had won the student show, and I had things in the show at the same time. And so that was kind of neat. And so I've been following his stuff forever, and I'm a huge fan of his work.
Yeah, I love his work too.
Yeah, I think I watched you guys on here actually. I think you interviewed him.
Oh yeah. that was crazy. I love that guy, man. He's so cool. But yeah, that's crazy, man. That's so funny because it's interesting, man. I feel jealous of that whole thing just because it's like I'm lucky, I guess, in some ways. I grew up with a father who's an artist, and he was an art teacher. But I grew up in the middle of nowhere and didn't really see art museums or anything like that. And I didn't really have any influence except for my dad and his work, just seeing my dad paint and stuff. And then when I got, so I wasn't, I never had that whole, I guess when I was around like, I think 10 or so, I started doing like life drawing from books. Like my dad would let me draw from these books, and I thought it was like so cool because I got to draw like naked ladies and stuff. My dad was like, this is awesome. So he'd give me these books, and I was like, this is cool, But like, it wasn't until I was like, gosh, in my 20s or so, where I actually was living in Chicago and got to go to the art museum and start seeing some of this stuff in person. But that's awesome. Then just even that whole group in New York, the New York area, the Society of Illustrators, because I started 99. Trying to think about like what I was doing then, man. I was in Chicago. Yeah, but I was in punk rock bands at that time. That's what I was doing. I didn't go to art school until I was 25 or 26 is when I went. But I was already working as an illustrator at the time. So yeah, it's different. Like I feel like a late bloomer in that way because I was like pretty much self-taught, and I was doing illustration. And what I was doing was going to every single, like a lot of those guys that like James Jean, a lot of those like illustrators, I would just be going through Barnes and Nobles or whatever, flipping through as many things as possible and just, oh, look at this. This is amazing. This is amazing. And that's what I was trying to learn from was, just anything that I could see in the bookstores that I thought was cool. And then from that, just I was trying to copy their styles as much as whatever style of every kind of whatever looked the best to me, or from C.F. Payne to James Jean and different artists like that. When he was doing all those fables, those illustration book covers, or just blew my mind. But yeah, then it wasn't until like I think it was 2004, I think, when I went to art school, and I was like, that was the first time where I finally, I need to learn some stuff, because everything was like self-taught, but I was still doing illustration work for magazines, and I remember getting shit from people like, because I think I did my first piece for Time when I was in art school. And everyone's like, "What are you doing? You know, this doesn't make any sense." But it's one of those things where I'm so glad I actually finally did go, because I never had life drawing until that point, and realized how important that was actually, you know, for everything. You know, be able to, just like even now in illustration, like because of experience of drawing and painting people and different things from life, as an illustrator, you have to spend most of your time looking at like references, right? Online or whatever. And you can just copy references if you want to, but to understand how real things work in lighting and everything, you know, that aspect of drawing and painting from life is super beneficial. But yeah, it's crazy, man. It's crazy, like looking back at how at the time of how long, you know, like with just the fact that you said that was 99 is when you graduated art school. That's crazy, because I graduated high school in 96. So I'm like, wait a minute, how does that even make sense? The timing, it's like, because like you and I are around the same age, right? How old are you?
42.
All right, we're the same age. So that's just, when did you graduate high school?
95. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So that was all last century.
Yeah, that was so long ago.
Yeah.
Jesus. But that's just crazy, because it's like, I mean, so you went, as soon as you graduated in 95, you went right into art school?
Like, yeah, I went to, university. It's a little different. I mean, there's an art school as part of the university. I think I chose it because, like, as opposed to like SBA or some of the schools that just focus on art and they would have just a liberal arts like add-on, I wanted to go to a university that actually had like an amazing fine art department, amazing art history department, writing department, philosophy, that wasn't just a tack on. Like, people were actually liberal arts majors that went to the school, you know, so they more about history and everything. And so that's I think it was a pretty well-rounded education, which I'm thankful for. When I got out of school, though, I moved to New York, and I didn't really do very well, like, with my art. It was okay. I graduated one of the top in my class or whatever for illustration, but I still felt like I didn't know how to draw very well. And so I got a regular job doing graphic design for a few years. And then at that time, I was going back to school at the Art Students League and the National Academy of Design to learn actually how to draw. So I transitioned full-time after 9/11 and into full-time painting and drawing. I did that for 5 years. And that was, I think, where I really learned how to paint and draw better, was being in front of models for 8 to 9 hours a day, drawing and painting from Monday through Friday, you know, every single day.
Yeah.
That's what really, I think, you know, that's the stupid outliers thing of the 10,000 hours. You know, that's where I got my 10,000 hours in of life and drawing. That really it was like a bottleneck. I wasn't making any money at all at that time, but it helped my career in the longevity of it, where now I have a lot of confidence in what I do, you know, and creating what I want to paint. And that training really helped versus the university training, which was okay. That was more marketing and whatever, and how to do an illustration job and all of that stuff and all those rules. It wasn't like, here's actually how you try to capture humanity of subject that's in front of you. It takes a long time to really develop that through learning how to actually see what's in front of you, as opposed to just like replicate it, you know?
Yeah. No, I think that's really important. That's what I was saying too. Like that's the one thing. Like I my art school, I only went for a couple years, and it got too crazy, where it was at the point in my life where my career was actually starting to like really start to happen, and everyone at the school was like, even the teachers, like, what are you doing here, kind of a thing. And I kept thinking like about like, well, you know, I really need to have. It was to be honest, it was probably more of just a pride thing. Like, I have to have a degree, you know. I went to, you know, whatever, but I ended up mostly just doing gen eds. That's mostly what I did. And and I had a watercolor class and an oil painting class and a couple life drawing classes, and it was like, and then when it got to the point where it was about, start focusing on your illustration degree, I was like, I don't even want to. I'd rather do the fine art degree. You know what I mean? Like, because you start to realize in the illustration thing, it's like I actually don't really care about what they're teaching in those classes. Like, I just want to draw and paint every day. And then it was at that point where I ended up going to New York with an artist friend and went to Society of Illustrators and met some people, and everyone there was like, oh, you should just start working full time, So I ended up quitting shortly after that and just going full time. But that's so cool, man. I love that that whole, just like, my friend Grigor, you're familiar with him at all?
Yeah. His work,
yeah. He that's basically what he was like, really into the whole atelier thing, and he ended up starting his own. So he's got his own now that he does. And I've always just been like I see that like every day, just like drawing an oil, doing oil painting from life, and like, that's basically what he does every single day. It's just, I don't know. The grass is always greener, right? You know what I mean? But like, I really appreciate that's what's cool. That's what I like. I can see it in your work and his work, and different artists that do that are able to do that as much as possible. But yeah, that's something that I wish I could do. I wish I could, he's always bugging me. He's like, dude, you can always come down anytime you want, but it's just like, I'm too freaking busy. But that's awesome, man. But I wanted to ask you a little bit just about your, because you seem like you have several different approaches when you're painting, like the different kind of surfaces that you paint on and everything. But what is, like, when it comes to your oil painting, what's your current kind of process? Like, are you the kind of artist that right now that does a full-on underpainting, or do you just kind of start going painting real direct?
Yeah, pretty direct. I don't. I do a drawing first, pretty detailed drawing, sketch. So I can show you on the self-portrait just really quick.
Yeah.
And then I transfer the drawing over. And so I was working on the sketch. No, it's from a photo. It's not from life, because I wanted to capture a certain thing. So I'll do a drawing like this, study right here, and then I'll transfer this over because this gives me like an idea of the values and the structure I want.
Yeah,
and then,
that's nice.
I working on this guy right here. And I'll bring in a Photoshop and make it like the right size, because this isn't life size. I try to do everything life size.
Yeah.
And make the painting life size and figure out that type of stuff, and then I'll take the drawing and trace that down onto a board, onto the glass panel, and I'll just kind of go into just sculpting it out with direct paint. I've seen grisailles. I might try that eventually, doing a verdaccio green, because you see that in some Bouguereau paintings that look like you did an underpainting and it's coming through in areas.
Yeah,
which is really interesting. But I just haven't had the patience to do that. I kind of want to go into the painting where all my strokes are very direct, and I like to hatch my paintings together, almost like Anagoni, Pietro Anagoni's oil emulsion tempera paintings, but I use oils, and so he's a big influence on me. And the way that my strokes kind of follow the form, it's almost like I'm raking color on top of color, trying to build a tapestry of color so it interacts with one another. And I enjoy that process. It's pretty meditative for me, as opposed to like taking thick paint and chunking it on in areas like Mission Freud or anything like that. I try to build up the surface of the texture of the skin to be what it is kind of in nature a little bit. I'm not painting every pore. There's some representational out there that are more photorealistic, and I'll paint like every single pore of the face, and I kind of want the paint to mimic the texture of skin rather than me sitting there painting every pore. You know what I mean?
Oh no, totally. Yeah, it gives it a little bit more life, I think, actually, when it's more suggestive, where I think if
closure, like you have the viewer can fill in the gaps of making it more realistic and more lifelike.
Yeah, I mean, like, there's a difference, I think, when you see, I can't think of the artist's name, but I was at the BP awards. I don't know if the original was in Scotland, but I saw it when I was in Scotland, and there was a couple paintings there that were just unreal photorealistic oil paintings that were just like, but they were so photorealistic that I was like, this is like a photograph. Like even though you get up so close to it, you can't even tell, and it's like, wow, I can't even tell that this is a painting.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's impressive. But then I saw Aaliyah Chapin's. I think she's the one that won that year that I was there. A painting she did of her aunt, and it's just explosive with the brushwork and everything else.
Yeah.
And that one was the one that drew my attention the most and everything. But it feels like to be a little bit of life, and I think sometimes when you worry about every little pore, it can start to become real stiff and almost like just like factory, like a factory work kind of a the
really don't like photorealism at all. The photo is controlling the artist in a lot of ways, as opposed to the artist actually trying to understand everything. So I use photos, but from a standpoint of what I've worked from life, you know what I mean? It's trying to use it so that I still want to understand form underneath. Like shadows within photography tend to just make a shadow completely blank of information, and then lights be blown out. And so Shana and I used to teach an online class where people would have photos that they wanted to replicate, and a lot of times the reference wasn't good to use because you couldn't see anything in the darks or the shadows. And with technology today, it's amazing because we have raw format that you can bring in photos, and if you shoot it correctly with a strobe light, you can get daylight color. You can adjust different contrasts so that you can see what's going on in the shadows, you can see what's going on in the lights. You can drop one and low and raise one, like levels and everything. You can see stuff. And so it gives you a full picture. It still doesn't give you the animation that you have from a sitter when you paint from life. Whenever I teach a lot about painting from life in workshops, and that's all about moving with the model because they're a living, breathing person in front of you. You want to capture that life within their energy and how they move. It's hot. Yeah. It's important. Yeah, so like photorealism, it's funny, my work gets compared to photorealism all the time, and I'm like, oh, that's nice. It's a nice compliment. Like, people are complimenting you because that's how they see, like, they see things in terms of photographs. And sometimes people say, oh my God, that's so lifelike. That's like the biggest compliment you can have as an artist.
Yeah.
That looks lifelike, or that's so alive, or that's mind-blowing, and that's super incredible. You almost like think that person's a little smarter than the other person.
Yeah, I think that's the key thing is, and that's how I feel. I have like a different approach when it comes to like with and I've talked about this before, but when it comes to like caricature type stuff, I like if I'm given the opportunity, I like to try to paint caricature stuff super realistic, because I've already taken it to a different place creatively. I've exaggerated and pushed things, but painting it super realistic kind of messes with people. They're like, what in the world am I looking at here? But like when it comes to like portraits, I hate it. I like to be more expressive and brushy, and push things more aesthetically as far as like the brush strokes and different like just styles that you can emulate, because when you're painting a portrait, you're focusing on certain measurements. That's mostly at first what it is, but then it's like what you said, bringing it to life, making the person feel alive. But I think it's just so much more fun when it's like when you can see that it's a painting. Unfortunately, I like there's been times where I've been at like a lot of clients, they want you to paint super photorealistic, and it's so weird for me because I'm like, that like there's been times where I'm supposed to paint a cover for something, and they give me this reference, and I'll do like something that I'm really proud of. Like I'm like, oh yeah, I captured them, but it's like expressive and painterly and everything. Like this is great, and they're like, oh no, this looks very sloppy, Like, can you make it look like more like the photo? And it comes to the point where like, why am I doing this? Like, you know what I mean? Like, what's the, and it's weird because I'm painting them digital. So it's like, I can make it really photorealistic because, it's like I can keep going and going. I can keep going in there. It's like and it's sort of pointless at that point. It's like why am I doing this? But it's gotten me throughout the years of doing it enough where the more I can get away with the being more expressive painterly, the more satisfied I feel. But as you know, it's a lot of times it's not about how the artist feels. It's crazy, man. So you are. That's one thing I actually want to talk about too. I just wanted to say, you're the palette, the parallel palette thing, is the coolest thing ever, man. That's my favorite thing. My wife surprised me. Like I think when you guys were doing the Kickstarter thing a few years ago, and I've been using that ever since. That's my favorite thing in the world. So I don't. Are you guys still selling those? Are you still selling them or?
We sold out about a year and a half, 2 years ago.
Oh, okay.
I need to put another $30,000 or $40,000 into it to get another 250. No, another 2,500 whatever printed or made in China and stuff. And I just haven't. It was fun, but I'm not a palette salesman. I just wanted to paint.
Yeah.
It's kind of a large.
That's awesome.
So design and have exactly what I wanted in the studio.
Yeah.
I have other ideas to make a bigger one and make one out of wood and do all these cool things with CNC machines. But I haven't. But then I'm also I just want to paint. It took about a year and a half of my painting time away in a way, and I don't even know if we really even made any money off of it at all. Maybe made a couple thousand off of all the sweat equity put into it, and people every day I get emails for them, people asking and stuff.
That's funny. I get asked, people, let's see mine. I'll share it with pictures when I'm working. Oh man, where can I get one of those? But guess what? Ha ha.
Yeah.
I got one and you didn't.
I have 10 of them that we kept for ourselves in case they ever break. I actually just opened a new one up. Wait, how do I do this? Yeah.
Yeah, I see it.
Right there.
Yeah. No, I love it, man. It's so cool.
Last week I opened a new one, but yeah, they're fun. They're really fun. We made them they're over-engineered, and they're only a certain size only because we couldn't make them any bigger because of injection molds. It was more expensive. I learned all about the engineering process of plastic and glass and metal, which was pretty incredible. And we used SolidWorks, which is a 3D CAD program to make them, and I love the idea of businesses and stuff like that, and so it was kind of an art Shark Tank kind of thing, even though it's such a small market. The painting market and the life painting market and the stuff that we do, it's a tiny fraction of the art material companies market, and so there's not a lot of history, not a lot of future in it to be able to make more, unfortunately. But and people knock them off all the time, so it's easy to just get a piece of wood. And...
Yeah. My dad thought it was pretty cool. He made one of himself. Yeah, he's got basically, but I just love it because it's now it's how did I use something else before that? I just love, I never thought of. I always just had a piece of glass, that I painted, acrylic gray underneath it, very similar to what that is, and that's just what I always worked on. But now it's right there. It's I can't not think of it. Right, it's just so awesome.
Yeah, you don't your back. I got back problems with the regular kidney palette that I used to hold all the time when I was in school.
Oh yeah.
So I was let's just put the palette next to the painting.
Yeah.
And so
it seems so obvious.
10 or 11 of them. I think there was one painter I saw that used to do it also was Stephen Assail.
Oh yeah.
But he would, when I took a workshop with him a long time ago as his assistant for a workshop, and he just would he had a flat palette, but he would mix with paint already on the painting. He didn't put a palette next to his painting at that time. He would just mix paint into it, and that was awesome. Although I wasn't painting vertically at that time. It was just so odd and amazing because he's so incredible of a painter. He's throwing it from across the room, and you have to, the front row, the workshop has to wear ponchos, Blue Man Group.
Oh, wow.
On them.
That's awesome.
He's an awesome guy to watch demo. He'd be great for this podcast if you can get a hold of him.
Oh, yeah, that'd be really cool. That's awesome, man. One last thing before we go here, though, is I want to show you some artwork that a few people did of you.
Are we recorded right now?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I'm recording right now. So if you're let's hold on one second. Let me do this real quick. So
I'm scared.
you're scared. You don't be scared. But
Wait,
hold on one second. My
Shayna. Sorry, that's you. She's making lunch. Oh.
Okay.
I know what's going on. Oh, he's showing me artwork that's of me that some people did. Oh, that's an old one.
Yeah, this is an old one. This is by someone that I think you know, Todd Cooper. Did this one? So yeah.
Like you try to get ahead.
So yeah, he showed me one that you did of him as well, for some workshop or something like that.
Digital painting of him a long time ago, and I used the Wii. You know the Wii?
Oh yeah, that's what he said. That's so funny.
Yeah, they did a system. They did a tablet that. Do you want to see it?
That's funny. You did it on a Wii.
Yeah. I did a project with a thing called the Wii tablet or something like that. They were coming out with. I used to do a lot of stuff digitally. When the iPad came out and had a video viral and all this garbage, and that was a project that I did out in LA. He sat for me out in LA.
That's so weird.
The Wii ran out of memory, so I couldn't finish it. It like pushed it until all the random access memory was done.
That's so funny.
That looks good. That comes up whenever anybody Googles me. That image comes up.
This image?
Yeah.
That's fun. Okay, this one is by Natalie Murray.
Move this out of the way. Oh, I know her too. You don't want to see these? This one I like because I look a lot more handsome.
Right.
That's awesome.
Oh, right. Oh, it's cool. Also, she's a forensics artist. I know her, and she does. You can see the muscles and some structure underneath. So she can tell what the skull looks like.
Yeah, I'm curious. I think she submitted before, and wrote me and told me about that. I think.
Yeah.
Unless it's a different person, but I'm pretty sure it might be the same person. That's pretty awesome. That's really cool.
Awesome. I know some of these people.
I like that. This one is by Ivan Pitsulu. Pitsulu? I don't know if I'm saying that right.
Or someone knows I like beer, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just have beer shirts. That's like my whole wardrobe is tattoo parlors and beer shirts.
All right. That's pretty funny.
And that's awesome.
I think you'll like this one. This is by Dominic Zeilinger, and I think he said he saw a picture of you with a koala bear or something, and it inspired him. So.
That's an Australian banjo with the koala bear. We have a prom picture together. It looks like. Oh, can we give a moment of silence to all the poor animals in Australia?
Oh, I know, Jesus.
It's insane.
You know,
not getting just out here.
Dude, it's nuts. I actually was just talking with some friends of mine from Australia, and I wrote them, obviously to ask how everyone's doing, but it's insane. It's just like unreal what's going on. It's crazy. Over 500 million animals just wiped out. Yeah. It's insane, man.
Oh, wow.
So anyways, this one is by Valid. I don't know the last name.
That looks pretty awesome. That's like I like the features. I look way cooler than I look in real life in that. That's super cool.
Yeah, you never know, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think this is the last one, actually. Yeah, this is the last one. This is by Christopher Hersman.
Yeah, that's my favorite.
She missed this one,
Who's the girl? Just kidding.
I'll email these to you too, so you can have copies of them too.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I always love to. It's always a fun part, just like sharing this stuff with people.
Yeah.
But hold on a second. All right, am I back?
Yeah, I see you.
Okay, cool. That's awesome. Yeah, it's always fun. It's funny. I never know like who's gonna send what or what's gonna go on, and it's really been different. Like when I had Tom Fluharty on, and of course I got like a million caricatures sent in. And a lot of times people send in caricatures, and some people have written me like, oh, it's, I don't really do caricatures. I never say do a caricature. I say do a drawing or a painting. And then and then when I had Aaliyah Chapin on, it was like I don't think there might have been maybe one, maybe two caricatures, but everybody just did like, it's almost like they were like trying to emulate her style a little bit or something. It was interesting. It's kind of interesting to see what people do, and it's like submissions from all over the world too, which is pretty cool. Awesome. But yeah, I don't have to keep you too long. You got to get going in a little bit, but before we end this, is there anything that you want to kind of promote or push or let people know what's going on or anything like that?
No, not really. No.
What was what was your favorite movie of 2019? Let someone know the secrets of David.
Favorite movies, probably like Midsommar. Have you seen that?
I didn't see that one.
It's insane. It's just it's like a kind of horror film.
Oh, okay.
Kind of. I don't know. That'd probably be my favorite movie. That's the one that is like pretty thought provoking, I guess.
Oh, okay. I'll have to check that out.
Crazy cult I'm not sure if they're in Norway or where they're at.
Oh, I know what you're talking about.
The same guy who did Hereditary.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. I saw the trailer and I know which one. That I definitely want to see that. That looked like a really weird movie.
It was pretty nuts. Awesome. One I think it just like sticks out because I think it's so like odd. Star Wars is okay. I don't know. A little bummed out about Star Wars.
I wasn't bummed out about it. It's really funny. Every single thing that I hear people all the critiques about it, I'm like, I don't know. I'm one of those people like the last one. I wasn't a huge fan of the last one. I thought the last one had a lot of problems. There's things about it that I liked, but there were certain things I'm just like that doesn't even make sense at all. Like, what are you doing? And my biggest critique about the latest Star Wars movie was that I thought that it could have been longer. I thought it could have been longer. I thought that they were cramming so much in the beginning part of it.
It cuts so quick to everything.
Yeah. But all the stupid complaints about Rey and everything, I'm like, dude, it's just funny. Like, people are going on like, she's still what do they call it, a Mary Sue? Like, she's got way too much power. It's like, dude, she's fucking Palpatine's daughter or granddaughter. It makes sense.
Yeah.
The guy shoots lightning out of his fingers. Do you think that's real? It's a movie. Yeah. Come on, dude. Like, I thought it was fun.
Predictable. It was so predictable. Yeah. But I mean, I think the thing is, I think we should have just left the three alone that we had as kids, because I had older brothers, and I was born in '77. Yeah. So like grew up with that as being my myth and my lore. That was like Joseph Campbell hero's story. Where you don't know how Darth Vader became Darth Vader. You heard from your friend that he walked into a volcano for some reason. And
yeah, exactly.
And all this other stuff. So you had a myth behind everything. And then when you spell that all out, it just it loses its magic to me. I mean, that's just me. And it's something that's commercial. And what I mean, I think I was still all for them tackling it and making more Star Wars, because that's
Did you see Mandalorian?
Yeah, I'm up to like chapter 6. I still have to watch 7. But I like Mandalorian. I love that whole idea. And, I even liked Han Solo, the Solo movie, because I thought it was cool.
It's funny too. Same with me. I like the Han Solo movie. A lot of people hated that movie, but my only critique with that was why, like, you could have made, like, he wasn't tall enough. That was my only critique. Is he's not really? Because like a lot of people again gave shit to the Solo movie and like, oh, it was terrible. It wasn't really terrible. It's actually a really fun movie, and it's cool seeing how they meet and everything. And but like, he's too short. Harrison Ford's a tall dude, and when you watch the Star Wars movies, he's a bigger guy. He's not like this little guy, and the guy was kind of little. But I thought he did a good job. Besides that,
Yeah.
But yeah, I was gonna say too. Like, I'm from the same thing, man. Like, Star Wars was my thing growing up, and I hate the prequels. I felt like when those came out, I'm like, why? We don't need to know. Like, we don't need a whole movie of him as a little kid, and then a whole movie of him as a whiny teenager. You're ruining Darth Vader. Like,
And the dialogue was horrible.
Oh, it's just so bad. But like, even it's George Lucas, because even like the how he went back to the originals and added all this digital stuff. Like, it kills me when I watch The Return of the Jedi now, and there's that added dance scene at the beginning that's just so bad. And it's just like, this is terrible. And then there's that dancing girl that that he drops into the pit. In the original, you don't know there's a pit there. Yeah. And that's why it's suspenseful when Luke's standing there, because you don't know what's going to happen. Yeah. So he actually ruined his own movie by putting that thing, because it's not it's scary when Luke. So like, when I watch these movies with my kids now, I'm like the old guy now. Like, you guys have no idea, you know. Yeah. Did you end up seeing Joker at all?
Yeah, I thought it was. I love that like 70s like vibe that it had. It made it more realistic, and just, you know, that's probably one of my favorite movies too. Actually, surprisingly.
Yeah, I love that movie.
I don't like it as much, but the psychology, you just feel so bad for him in a way. You're just like,
I think it did a good job of like making you feel terrible for this guy. Yeah. And you understand why he does what he does, and even when he does fucked up shit, you're like, I get it. But it's like it's just like, oh my gosh, it's like, it's so intense. And one thing I love too, I don't know if you're a fan of The Shining or not, but I love how, if you watch The Joker, the entire movie, the music just builds and builds and builds, and by the end it's like crescendoing. It's a lot like The Shining, and I don't know, I love it.
You ever see Punch Drunk Love? Punch Drunk Love's like that.
Oh,
John Bryan's soundtrack for Punch Drunk Love is like that. When you get that, like, when he kind of flips out, and the music gets more intense. It's crazy.
It's awesome, man.
It's good stuff. I gotta watch more movies.
Yeah.
Get my New Year's resolution: watch more movies.
Watch more movies.
Yeah. Paint less. Watch more movies.
Yeah. I need to paint more, but no, we have we're having daughter number 4 is cooking in the oven right now, so I'm about to be even more busy. So, hey man, thanks so much. I know you got a cruise. Thanks so much for doing this. It's really good to talk to you again, man. It's been a few years, 5 years maybe, since we hung out.
You're talking about the parking in Chicago and the parking cops.
Oh yeah. Well, that's what we were talking about. That's what you remember.
You're like fixated on this. I remember.
Oh, I think. Oh, dude, because like Chicago's the, like, I think one of the most corrupt cities in the U.S. I mean, we have, like, if you have a car in Chicago, and you don't have, like, I'm lucky we have a parking spot, but if you don't and you have to park in the streets, I would bet that most people end up having to pay $500 or more a month because of just corrupt tickets. And you can't even do anything about it. You try to, like, hey, like, I wasn't parked there. It doesn't matter. Like, you can't contest anything. So yeah, I get pretty pissed with the drive. Like, even like just having to drive your kid to school. There's like, you know, he can turn right on red in certain areas.
Yeah.
If there's no sign, you can do that. And there was one time recently where I got a ticket for turning right on a red, and I even went back and I photographed evidence of the area. There's no signs anywhere. You can turn right on that. All right. And still doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. And they want you to pay this crazy amount. So yeah, I was, no doubt, I probably like just got like to be honest, this is so funny that you brought that up, but did I talk about getting, because I think I just got back from getting engaged maybe, or no, I just got married, I think, when we hung out.
I just remember
well, I got back from my honeymoon or something like that, and I had 2 tickets on our car and it was like almost $1,000 worth. It was two $500 tickets because they said that I was parked in a handicap spot for the whole time we were gone, and I wasn't. And there was a handicap spot behind me. I was parked in front or something like that, but my bumper was touching the line where it started or something, and so I got 2 tickets. So I think I was probably freshly pissed off. That's awesome. Anyways, man, hey, thanks for hanging out. It's so much fun talking to you. And
we're gonna be in Chicago in May. We should grab a beer.
Oh yeah, for sure, dude. Let me know. That'd be awesome.
Text you.
Cool. All right, man. Awesome. We'll talk soon. And thanks again, bud.
Yeah. Have a good one.
You too.
I'll answer the question.
Sometimes the truth is painful.
You want answers? The truth shall set you free. I think I'm entitled. You want answers? I want the truth. You can't handle the truth.